Sir, thank you very much for giving us time today. So, on this event of Women's Day, so we have a very special session for you. You are a very renowned author, columnist, and your writings are very valuable, and the writings are acknowledged and read across the globe, and there are many readers who have been under the charisma of your writing and your intellectual contributions. You always focus on current issues and different disciplines. You have a very unique and peculiar point of view, which is quite different from the other versions, which is relayed, aired, and portrayed on different areas and arenas of social media. So, concerning to Women's Day, my first question is that what are your views about Women's Day in commemorating, in celebrating the Women's Day, in the sense that is this type of Women's Day, does women these days like this Women Day which is celebrated, is this gift for women or an insult of women? Is this type of Women's Day which is celebrated or commemorated only once in a year, or in the sense that once in a blue moon, so is this a gift for women, something very beneficiary for women, or an insult of the women?
No, to judge, to make a judgment or to decide whether something is gift or an insult, it needs to be dig into history, to find out why we celebrate international days like the May Day, like the Day Against Torture, all sort of, and there are two type of international days. One, initiated by the United Nations, and then there are the others who were not initiated by the UN, but the people, the ordinary people. Most of the days is really like the May Day. May Day, what is May Day? May Day is basically is a reminder that the workers, if they are enjoying 8 hours or 7 hours a day, working hours, that is the result of their struggle. So Women's Day for me is just a reminder that whatever the women has achieved in last 100 years is the result of their struggle, of their sacrifice. Women's Day actually is a remembrance of the historic struggle conducted by the New York garment female workers in 1909. They organized a weeks-long struggle. They went on strike, and their strike lasted more than 11 weeks. And finally, they won their demands, and they put forward very simple demands. They wanted the decent wages. They wanted to reduce their working hours, and they wanted to have a better working conditions at the factories. And they fought for that, and on that struggle, to remember that struggle, and in solidarity, show the solidarity, the Socialist Party of America, they celebrated the first National Women's Day in 1910.
Can I question, sir?
Yes.
Sir, this idea and this culture was developed from Europe and from those countries that you discuss here. So don't you think that the people here in subcontinent, so they have adopted that culture and the values, etc., whatever the case is there, but basically, don't you think that this is a copy-paste culture basically?
No,
that they just adopted from there and...
No. My view is that, there are differences, in the development of the societies. Every society has developed historically, in a different context. the evolutionary process and the revolutions that bring changes into a society and help to develop societies economically, socially. They have differences, but on the same time, they have commonalities, they have common features, they have common things, like the struggles of the human beings are common. You cannot divide them into boundaries and into different things, like the working class as a class internationally, wherever the workers have fought for their rights. I think it's the heritage of all workers, all human, the trade union movement internationally, the workers around the world, the globe, they own that heritage. So it's wrong to say that we copy paste a Western, because we have to remember that capitalism first developed in Europe. So that's why most of the struggles of the workers, they first took place in Europe. So
yes. The next question is then, do we also celebrate Gents Day? Do we also celebrate or commemorate Gents Day?
Yeah, there is, the UN has started, they have also now have a day for the men. But hardly anybody celebrated, because the issue is, we need to understand that when men internationally, they had a privileged position, they had a powerful position, and they don't need to struggle. What they will struggle for is to keep their domination, because generally the societies that we live in, they are male dominating societies. The males have the privilege, they have the power, they have the authority, and so why and that is one of the reasons why they don't celebrate a Men's Day, because they don't need, because they don't have to struggle, they didn't struggle through, because of when the class society was established 1,000 years ago, it was the men who became the master.
You mean these are the chauvinist attributes?
Yeah, it's like the women, the gender equality. When we say gender equality, that means that women as a human being should enjoy all the rights that the men enjoy.
Okay. So the question is this day a license to protect women's rights?
No, it's just the international days, the one-day celebration can't secure rights, can't give women or any oppressed or marginalized section of a society, they cannot give them the rights just to celebrate one day. It's a continuous struggle.
So sir, what can be the remedy?
No, the rights won by the movements. It's not won by a struggle of a day. You need a consistent struggles. You need to build and develop movements to secure rights, to win rights.
So do you think it's only a pump and show?
No, it's not like that. It's not like that, because if you look into the reality is, yes, it's true. If we look into that matter, that how many women in Pakistan knows that 8th of March is an International Women's Day, because very few women take part in the demonstrations, in the seminars, in the conferences that been organized on every 8th of March. Majority of the Pakistani women, they have no idea, but now because of the presence of the electronic media and social media, a lot of women know that 8th of March is International Women's Day. But unfortunately, because women is still not a very active part of our social life, women has been socially segregated. Only 25% women are active part of economic activity. 75% women, they spend their whole lives working at homes. It doesn't mean that 75% of the women, they don't work, they work. And now the latest study, it was published yesterday, it shows that the women work more harder than the men. The women in their natural lifetime, they work more than the men claims to do the work.
So my next question is, what do you think are the women a human person or commodity?
Yes, in a class society, for the capitalist society, or even when the class society established and slavery developed into a socio-economic system, the women became a commodity. Before that, when there was no class society existed on this planet, the women had the equal rights, and she enjoyed the equal status. Actually, she was the head of the family.
Sir, how do you see, judge and analyze mountain between men and women?
A mountain?
Mountain between men and women.
Difference or
communication gap, communication gulf, the different cultural tradition, especially dominant in subcontinent and in our country.
Yes.
So how do you see that?
Yes, the women.
Who is dominant, who is authoritative, and who is injustice out of it?
The subcontinent societies are generally male-dominating societies. Male dominates. It's the male members of the family.
Shall this sustain?
No, it should not. It should not be like that.
And how do you see that?
Because in my opinion, that's why, because the question of the status of women is linked with the class society. Without the women, in my view, the women emancipation, the struggle to emancipate women is linked with the struggle of the working class, of the workers, to emancipate the human beings, to emancipate the society, and to emancipate the working class from the exploitation and the chains of the capitalist society. So for me, as far as the class society existed, the male will continue to dominate as far as the gender equality is concerned, but on the same time, the rich man will continue to dominate the poor man in a class society, because the question of women rights, the question of women, if we look at today's Pakistani society, if we say that to use the general term women, we will not be able to identify the problems faced by the different layers and sections of the women population in Pakistan. Because it's elite, elite women, the women belongs to the upper middle class and sections of the middle class. They enjoy far more better rights, living standards, economic opportunities compared to the women belonging to the poor and the working class families. So it's when we raise the question, what is the status of a woman, then we should we need to explain that the women of which class, because the women belonging to, even though they are women, they have problems, but the women who belongs to the elite families, the upper middle class women, they have better position in the society compared to the poor and working class women.
Sir, what is the biggest challenge being faced by women?
In societies like Pakistan, I think the feudal and tribal culture, the customs and traditions of the feudal and tribal society culture, I think that is, for me, is the biggest problem, because the feudal and tribal traditions, being imposed on the women in Pakistan in the name of religion. And when we use religion to justify the tribal and feudal traditions, it means to give all these tradition and customs the sacredness, to cover it, in the name of religion. But I think the most of the traditions and customs that have been practiced in Pakistan today, they have nothing to do with the religion. They actually belongs to the tribal and feudal age.
Sir, my next question is, how do you judge and categorize a prostitute?
I think prostitution for me, is a crime against humanity. I don't blame women, to be a prostitute. It is the society, and we force the women into conditions where they left with no other option but to sell their bodies, to live, to meet the needs, and to meet the ends expenditure and all these things, just to sell their bodies. And I think if you look at the history, after the revolution, in Russia and Soviet Union, and after the revolution in China, the prostitution was wiped out. There was no prostitution. It was, but first, yes, we can make a law. We can, declare prostitution illegal. We can ban it. But the problem is, for me, is first we need to change the socio-economic situation, the conditions. Mostly the women, the poor women, vulnerable women, because of different reasons, they are the easiest prey, to be brought into the prostitution.
Okay, sir, my question is that, what do you think, is the state on sleeping mode in perspective of women rights? My question to be focused, I repeat, is that, what do you think, is the state on sleeping mode? This is the question.
The problem is, in last 20 years,
Yes.
or so, Pakistani governments, different governments, have made a lot of new laws to protect the women. I think hardly any country can compete, the sort of laws made by the Pakistani governments. But the problem is not the introduction of the law, or making new laws, or to amend the older laws. The issue is to implement the law. I think, yes, as far as the implementation of the existing laws are concerned, yes, our state is on the sleeping mode.
Sir, how do you count lesbians and gays?
It's like in our society, most of the Muslim majority population and countries, it's a very sensitive issue. It's a very controversial issue too. Because the moral code of the religion, there is no acceptance of such sexual tendencies. For me, it's a sexual tendency. But that is in Europe, in Western countries, it has become a big issue. The movements were developed against them. They faced a lot of difficulties. But finally, in some countries, they have accepted the lesbianism and lesbians and the gays as a social, as a sexual tendency.
It has been legalized.
They have legalized it. But in the Muslim majority countries, yes, it's something. It's a taboo. It's still a taboo. Tendencies does exist, but our problem is that we, we like to put a lot of social issues that exist in our societies, but we like to put them under the carpet. We don't want to discuss them.
Sir, my next question is that we have a dogmatic version related to moms as concerned to our mothers, and that is about lies under feet of mothers, the paradise that lies under feet of mothers. So if this is so why do our mothers, our moms, burn themselves, and they are forced to burn in hell the whole life? And that is reality in practice. They live in hell for the whole life. Why is it so? And the related question, please, I'm sorry, I want to add, does the paradise, does the abode also lies under the feet of a mother prostitute? This is the question.
No, the mother is a mother, whatever profession she is in.
If she is a criminal or
It
whoever,
doesn't matter.
whoever
She is a mother for her children.
Mother for motherhood's sake.
Yes, she is a mother. Yes,
Okay.
whatever she does is a different thing. On your question, the problem, there's a contradiction here. There's a contradiction. How we treat women. Mother is a sign of greatness. Is a sign of if you look at especially in our culture, in the culture of the subcontinent, there are a lot of Hindu goddesses.
Kali Mata and many others.
Lot of different.
Yes.
But on the one hand, the mother is something special. She is, of course, she is a woman. But as a mother, we give her some special status. But when it comes to a woman as a human being, we treat her differently. Like a mother is also a wife of my father. My father treats her differently. I treat her differently because she is my mother. And I have been taught in the schools and at the home that I have to respect my mother. From a religious point of view, yes, as you said, the paradise lies beneath her feet. So if I will look after her, if I will respect her, if I devote some of my time, to her, to look after her, then I will be. I'm a good man. I'm a pious man. I'm doing a good thing. But at the same time, if I'm extending all these things to my wife, then I'm not a good man. I'm not the man then. I'm, as we used to call in our culture, and then I'm a rangbreed. Then I'm a slave of a woman.
Eunuch.
Because I'm giving respect. I'm helping my wife or my sister. The problem is we judge women through the lenses of our blood relations. We don't respect a woman as a woman, as a human being. We don't treat women equally, respectfully, in a dignified way. Because I just want to give one example. In my family, I identify women as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, as a cousin, as a different blood relations, the family relations that I have. But outside of my family, when I look women, I look at as a sex symbol. I look at as a commodity. I don't treat other women as a woman, as a human being, which is not related to me.
Why is it so?
It is. I think it is part of is the general treatment of the women, because it also has a religious influence, but it also has the feudal and tribal influence. But it's how we have been brought up. That's how we that how we the see women, you know. So lot of sacredness is attached with the family women, but not to a women.
Okay, sir, one question is that are women just sex toys?
No, they are not. As far as myself is concerned, no, they are not.
So how do you see the male version of women being only sex toys? This is also a version,
It is.
and that
it is.
and that does exist. How do you see that, and how do you judge that?
No, because it links, as I said earlier,
Yes.
it linked with the development of the class society. Because first thing, when the slavery was established, the first layer, two layers of the society that was suffered the most were the women and the weaker men. Because the stronger, more powerful men, they made the weak men as their slaves. And they also made women as their slaves. So the status of the women changed when human society entered into a class society from a classless society. So to completely change the status of the women and to give her the full rights and freedom and equal status, we need to establish a classless society. We need to abolish the class-based society. The women's status is linked, as you said. Whatever we are experiencing, the women have experienced in thousands of years, is the result of the class society.
And my next question is that is women the prime source and symbol of sin?
Some of the religious thoughts think.
Some of the religions or all religions?
No, some of the
religions.
Some of the religious thoughts.
Is it true?
I don't think in that way, because the
But that's reality.
No, the issue is like many Muslim religious clerics in Pakistan.
Clerics.
The most conservative
Yes.
clerics, they think that women is the source of all sin. If you keep the women in your four walls of your houses, no sin will occur. You know, the society will be free of sins, because for them, it's not the man who is responsible for the sins in the society, and for them the women is the source of all. And it hasn't really, in my opinion, like there are many Hindu leaders in India who thinks the same, as many religious leaders in Pakistan thinks like, you know, for them so it's not linked to one religion, but mainly this thing is linked to the conservative thoughts of you know, the many religious people. Yes, they think that way, because for them it's the women who attract men to the sin. But I think it's the other way around. In my opinion, it's the other way around.
Yes, please.
The other way around.
So,
I don't agree with that thought. Yeah, it exists. This thought does exist.
Yes.
It exists in the feudal and in the societies where the feudal and tribal culture still is the dominating.
So my next question is that many abuses in our society are attributed and just related to women, especially mothers, sisters, etc. For example, even across the globe, we have many people just that motherfucker, etc. So why don't we love our fathers more that we just say fatherfucker? Why is it so?
That's why I said, because
I mean, this means we don't love our fathers.
no, it's not.
So why is
that.
it so?
It's not that. Because we need to understand,
Yes.
when we attribute abuses to the women, to the close relations. You know, what is the symbol of abuse? Is to humiliate. Because in a class society and in the feudal and tribal societies, the women is the man is responsible to protect the honor of the women.
Yes.
So this question is linked with that thought, with that tradition that exists, in many societies. For instance, in the honor killings is also linked with that, because they think the men think that they are responsible, that they have to protect the honor of the women, because the women is the private property of a man. Because when I say the private property, because the class society established on the fact that when a man claimed that this land belongs to him, that was the beginning of a class society, because class society established with the establishment of private property. So the abuses and all that, what we do with the women, the honor killing and all these things, is linked with that the women is a private property of the man. And when we have that thought, then we use words that humiliate another person.
So another question related to these consequences and these attributes, then in a state and in any country where we live, we call it motherland. So why don't we have terms like fatherland?
The motherland, because yes.
So that's the same question. Don't pull up our fathers.
No. The thing is that the country is a.
We are prioritizing mothers in the sense that motherfuckers, and we have motherland, and we don't just say fatherfuckers or fatherland.
Linked, the state.
Yes.
State is the production of the class society.
So you mean that the state, we basically we use this term for the state, that is our country. This is our motherland. So that is the state,
yes,
where we live in. We are inhabitants of the state.
Yes.
So do you think that our mothers are basically terrorists?
No.
So what about state terrorism?
No. It's also linked. You have to go back then.
What is state terrorism? So we
State
call it
something.
motherland.
No,
So it is the state. So
No,
I mean our mother is terrorist.
No. When we say the motherland, what we mean from the motherland?
Yes.
Motherland, because country. When you say country is the development. We need to understand that the countries, the states, developed after the development of the class society. It emerges out of with the development of the societies. As I told you, the mother in a historical context is a symbol of a greatness. Mother is above all. Mother, when if we look at the symbol of mother is a figure which is selfless, which sacrifices her whole life for the others. And when we say mother, as we many intellectuals say that state is like a mother.
Yes.
Because
like Maxim Gorky.
They just want to prove the point. Because okay. Mother, what is mother? Yes. Mother means peace. Mother means love. Mother means care. Mother means protection. All these things are attributed towards a mother.
Yes.
Mother is a symbol of, the care, the love, the protection. And if you look at, and that's why some people think that the capitalist state, the feudal state, is like a mother, but they are not like mother. Yes. They are like very strict fathers.
I have a question, sir. Dogs are the symbol of loyalty.
Yeah.
So when the attributes of loyalty is not associated to any other animal, as compared to the degree and intensity of dogs. So it is also said that the dogs are the true historian of loyalty, basically, and that the symbol and pride of loyalty and friendship with human persons. So if the dogs are the most loyal breed and most closest friend of humans, so why do we call son of bitch? That must be a pride. So, but why do we call this son of bitch, daughter of bitch? Why is it so? And that is termed to mothers, related to mothers.
Yes, that's
So why is it so?
that's what I.
Is this hypocrisy or pride?
No, it's a humiliation.
Yes.
That we.
So that means we are humiliating our friends. We are humiliating
yes,
dogs.
To other men.
We are also humiliating dogs.
What we actually is, nobody says that you are son of a dog.
Are our mothers bitches?
Because that's why I try to explain to you that all abuses centered around mother, female.
Yes.
Because the mothers, the female, is linked with the honor of a family, honor of a man. Rather mother, daughter, sister. So when something happens to them, the first thing that comes to the mind of a male in our societies is that his honor has been affected. He has been dishonored.
Honor has been challenged.
He has been dishonored. The family has been dishonored. The male members, nobody will say that the female members of a family has been dishonored because one member of the family has done something very wrong, very harmful. But as soon as a woman will do something, then the question of honor, the question of dignity of the family will come into play.
Sir, one question.
And that is the abuses that you are saying is linked with that.
Yes. The other question is that how do you see, judge and rank the VL culture in Muslim society? VL culture in the Muslim society. So many girls and women, they veil. They just disguise their faces with some pieces of clothes. So the question is, are they ashamed of men of the society? Or the men are not trustable? So how do you see and judge that? Is veil friend of women or the enemy of women?
It depends where the women are. Like in a European society, wearing a veil is a problem. It attracts a lot of attraction, because among hundreds and thousands of women, if a few women will looks different, then she will attract. If the purpose of the veil, of the parda, of all these things, of hijab and all these things,
like Cleopatra.
If the purpose is to just to not to get attention, just to avoid attention, then this purpose is not being really been met.
Sir, my simple question is that friend of women or enemy of women?
It depends. For some women, like the question of class, the question of veil, so according to my opinion,
that is
it's women's choice. The women has the right to choose whatever she wants to wear. I believe in that. And it's a man. The problem is, the cloth, what the women should wear or not should wear, it's become problematic when men wants to impose a specific code of clothes or things on the women. So I completely disagree with that it should be the men who should decide what the women has to wear, but it should be left to the women, whatever. For me, the sign of veil or hijab is not the sign of a reaction.
Sir, the same question associated with the concept of four walls, boundaries, the bangles, and the cosmetic industry related to women. So, are these women friendly or anti-women?
No, the ornaments, the gold ornaments, the silver ornaments, whatever, is the legacy of the women enslavement. when she becomes much more freer during the feudal age. So because when they were slaves, they were kept in chain,
Yes.
different things being used.
Handcuffs.
And if you look at the ornaments,
Yes.
all are remnants of the that be like lot
Of that age.
of that age
Yes.
that was used to contain or to for the women. For me, yes, it goes back to long way into history.
Yes.
And in the feudal age, then it becomes a status symbol, but it comes back from the beginning of the class society, the enslavement and all these things. But I think it should be left to the women now. She wants to wear it or not wear it, it's up to the women. For as far as the history is concerned, yes, as a historical fact, yes, it is the reminder of of the age when the women were slaved. They were treated like slaves. They were slaves, and they were chained. They used different things to chain the women, and now they have become it comes from that. But now the women, especially during the feudal age.
Sir, my next question is
Yeah.
that any society or state or any society who patronizes and facilitates prostitutes, so can that be a welfare state or a welfare society?
That is, I think, one aspect of that. As far as I make it very clear at the beginning, for me, prostitution is a crime. Prostitution is not a crime against women. Prostitution is a symptom of an ailing society. Like why the women should choose. Like some people say that prostitution is one of the oldest professions. Yes, it is the oldest profession since the establishment and the development of a class society. Prostitution is linked with that. Because when the weaker women, the vulnerable women, and I also come to that question, the welfare state is a very modern concept of a society. The European, the modern welfare states were established after the Second World War, after 1945. They established, and it's not something that goes into centuries into it. Since in the Western countries now, you cannot force women into it. Like prostitution is not a crime, but forcing a woman into prostitution is a crime. So that means you have you have legalized the prostitution.
Sir,
You have given some protection to them. Nobody can force you to do something, but still, I think it's a crime. It's a big social evil.
Sir, now my question is, do you advocate free sex in human society?
I think the human society. It's a big debate.
And sir, my related question is that, do you think that the having sex is the fundamental human rights?
Yes, it is.
Having free sex.
Free sex. The concept of free sex depends what you mean by the free sex.
Okay, I will present a question to you. A man and women are married according to the social norms. But they are married against their will, what happens in our society, especially in arranged marriages. So a man and women, they are married against their will, under the social pressure and peer pressure, whatever the case is. And they have a baby. And people say that is a very good baby, a legalized baby. On the other hand, a man and woman, they are not wed in that sense, but they love one another and they have sex and a baby is born. And the people say that the baby that is that is not a good baby, and that is not acceptable. But in the both cases, biological process is same. And even before establishment of this institution of marriage in human society, there was a culture of free sex, and also what are our mythological values and mythological history, that is from whole of the human race, that is from the from Adam and Eve, that is the case. So how do you find this thesis?
No, the thing is, the family, the institution of family, the institution of marriage, the institution of state is the byproduct of the class society. Is established, is developed in that form that we experience now, we live in, is the result of the establishment of the class society. The problem is in every society, as I said earlier, the question of how we see the institution of marriage and family, it linked with how we view the private property.
Yes.
If we think that it's justified, if one believes that the private property is a justified thing, then yes, then the family and then marriage and all these things are justified, in a certain social conditions. But when you say free sex is something, has a very wrong concept as secularism in Pakistan. Because some terms, when they are widely misused, they give completely wrong impression and meaning. And I think we should avoid using such terms which bring completely wrong meanings and doesn't explain anything. Like in Pakistan, secularism is a widely misused term.
So my next question is, in our society, what are your views about marriages? That is, are the marriages only a barter system of bodies? That is, marriages here are only exchange of bodies. Do you agree? What are your views about this concept?
Well, as I told you, that some traditions, the societies has developed over the years, over the centuries, thousands of years. And that is linked, as I repeatedly said again and again, all these institutions, the state, institution of the state, the institution of the family, the institution of the marriage, they are all linked in the present form, is linked with the class society, with the establishment of class society. Now the thing is, we need to understand that unless a classless society is established, re-established, these institutions will remain. They are part of the human, the today's human. What happened was, if you look at, in our, the traditional societies, families in Indian subcontinent, was completely a different form. Like it was as we say, the united families, the unified families, the extended families, the collective families, they have gone now. The family system, the joint family system, has broken down. But when it broken down in Europe after the capitalist revolution, they established the welfare state. The welfare state taken over the responsibilities that was used to shared by the joint family system. But in our societies, now the joint family system is in crisis, it's breaking away, it's breaking down. But there is nothing better, a more on a higher scale to replace it. So there is a social crisis now in our societies now.
Thank you. So my next question is, a young girl Yes, a girl married against her will in case of arranged marriages, arranged marriage. So, do you think that is basically an organized, planned, and legalized rape?
I think the forced marriage is a legal form of prostitution for me.
Yes.
It's a legalized prostitution. If a woman being forced to live with a man she don't want to live, whatever she is doing is a forcefully has been done. It's not her choice. Women has a choice.
So, sir, that is done and that is practiced
Yeah,
under
yeah.
auspices of sacred cloud.
Yeah, it's true. That is being widely practiced. But the reason is why she has been treated like that, because she has been considered as the private property of the man. And unless we change that, thought process, thinking, the traditions and all these things, we treat the women as a human being, as an equal, it will be there. And, as far as myself is concerned, nobody has a right. Like,
Sir, I have a next question, sir. What do you think about the practice of marrying women to the sacred book Quran? That was a practice. So, in that case, what are your views that who is insulted in that case?
both the Quran and the girl.
Are insulted. So,
Because-
what was the contribution and what were the steps taken by the state and the religious clerics in that case?
The problem is, the marriage, that is what, this issue and this practice has been done in sin
Yes.
from long time ago. And the reason is economic reason. Because the feudal families, they don't want to give inheritance to the female members of their family. And when they find out that they have no match within the family for their girls, so they have developed that tradition. For me, marrying a girl to Quran is it's a cruelty, it's inhuman, and it must be stopped. The state never, like there is a, if there is no law to prohibit it, but there is no,
Sir, my question
permission.
is, sir, now you said that the sacred book, which is the base and the pillar of the faith of this society, so that was being targeted and humiliated in this case, and that was being insulted. So that basically is a very sacred issue, and that can be also related to the case of blasphemy. So in this case, when that was in notice of state, of the religious organization, and which were in political practice, and they had very strong root in politics. So why were they tolerating? Were they blind at that state? Or, so why were they silent, and why were they tolerating that?
Because they are they are the beneficiaries of the same system. This is, as I told you, these cruel, reactionary, outdated and rotten customs and traditions, they are, as I told you, that they're basically linked with the feudalism and tribalism, and they have been used. The problem is such things, like it's like a secret society. It is not something that they do it in a public day, publicly. They do it secretly, and when they say why they do that, is a girl which has been declared in the family that she has been
Wed to Quran.
wed to Quran and whatever. And that means she has become sacred. No male she cannot marry them. She has to spend her whole life within the four walls of the house.
Sir, what was the global reaction on this this is atrocity? Don't you think this is the greatest atrocity
Yeah,
related to women?
Yeah, it is. It is. As I said, it's a cruel, it's inhuman, tradition or custom, whatever they call it. But it's not widely. The problem is, it's not. It must be stopped. It should be stopped. But it has been done.
United Nation was silent on this issue.
I think there is, apart from sin, you will not find this tradition anywhere else. That has been practiced in a very, like the big feudal families, they do it. It's not something that the ordinary people do in sense, no. There is no concept of that. Because the common people, they have nothing to get out of that. So that has been done in feudal families, the big feudal families. And that is linked with the land.
So, my next question is, in our society, there is a call sign 5 times, and regular and repeated call sign, that is, God is great. God is great. My question is that, what do you think? Is God great or hunger?
No, I think, to answer this question, I think God is great in the sense that, the people believe that He created this universe.
So my question is that, can God be worshipped with an empty stomach?
I don't think, the problem is because there are sensitivities attached with this religious thoughts and the religions. I don't want to go into it, but the simple thing is.
So we step to the next question.
No, the simple thing is that a hungry man you cannot expect from a hungry man who is hungry, who desperately looking for a food, no other thought will come into his mind apart from the thought of a food, whatever form of the food. So his thinking will be concentrated on, so I think it's
So,
reality is that.
Sir, actually, there's a very long list of questions, and many questions are there on the margin, but we have short time, and I think we will arrange another session, and we shall cover the other questions in that session. And we are very thankful to you that you spared your time, very precious time, and you contributed your intellect, your wisdom, your thoughts with us, and your answer and your exposure and your expression, that was very outspoken and very convincing. So that added beauty of knowledge to definitely, and the learners, the students and people around the world, they will learn many new points and new horizons of knowledge and everything that you contributed. So, and in the end, on the day of the special day of Women's Day, so your message to women of the world.
So I think, as a man, my message will be not to the women but to the men. That they should treat women with respect, with dignity, with equality. Without encouraging the women, to get education and to be active part of the economic life. For instance, if like in Pakistan, there are only 25% women in the workforce. If we can increase it from 25% to 50%, our GDP will grow more than 30%. And that means millions of new jobs can be created.
Yes.
Millions, hundreds and thousands of the families can brought out of the poverty. Their living standards can be improved. They can afford to educate their children. They can afford to have better living standards. They have the basic necessities and needs, of the daily life. So my message is to the men that they should treat women as equals, as human beings, as respectfully, as friendly, and as in dignified way as we treat other men.
Thank you very much, sir. So this sitting, this can be termed as the first episode of the session. We shall have another session, and that will be the next episode of this session. Sir, thank you very much.
Thanks very much for inviting me.
Yes, thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
And, thanks very much.